know it.
The late guest.
I'm at Live 95.5. I am the late guest.
Better late than never.
Better late than never.
So my hope is that people are going to be awakened and ready for change and want to hop on a path of like-minded people, you know, of people that are in a growth mindset and really wanting to move forward. So, all right, well, here we go. Speaking of moving forward, we have our local. I don't even know what to call you anymore because you've just changed and grown so much since I've known you. So.
I know it, girl. I know it. So
awesome.
On today's show, I am an astrologer.
Well,
so
there we go. So you've had a lot going on lately, though.
I have. As many of you may or may not know, the month of March, the planet Mercury was in retrograde. And so if you had any malfunctions with your schedule or with travels, a lot of times technology doesn't work right during Mercury retrograde. That's really a lot of times what it's known for. During Mercury goes retrograde about twice a year, either 4 to 6 weeks at a time, sometimes 8 weeks, depending on where it is in its orbit. And it can be a really frustrating time. It's, a lot of times you have to do about 3 times the amount of work for, one time the result. But, it's a time to really dig in there deep. So March was special.
I did see some people talking about that actually on Facebook. There's some different yogi type folks that I follow, and they were talking about how it was a little bit crazy. Well, one of the things that you've really been working on for yourself and developing and wanting to move forward on is reading natal charts for people, birth charts.
Yes.
And something that I had found and just decided to print it out and just bring it. But it was just like, so what's the benefit of your birth chart reading? What's the benefit of having that done for a person? And I really liked what this said. It said the benefits of knowing your birth chart is a process of a deep understanding of yourself and your life.
Right.
Essentially, a reading examines the patterns of your true self-expression. It also shows your talents and latent abilities that need to be developed. Focusing more on your strengths will help deepen your insights. The birth chart is a tool and a guide towards your own empowerment.
I thoroughly agree with that. I tell people your natal chart is pretty much the blueprint to your soul. So, a lot of times we grow up in homes or families or cultures, and there's a lot of outside influence on us about, what we should do, how we should behave. And sometimes we struggle with that. And, we're not always the most insightful as to who we are. But when you look at a natal chart, you can see, those impulses, you can see those struggles, you can see those strengths. And a lot of times when your birth chart is showing a weakness, it's also showing ways that there can be a solution to it.
Okay.
Other energies that are aspecting it. So I tell people it's the blueprint of your soul.
So tell us a little bit about your experience. You're bebopping through life, and how did this come into your world?
I've always been interested in what's called sun sign astrology. Now, we're sitting here in Coleman, Alabama, not just the Bible Belt, but the belt buckle of the Bible Belt. So,
Okay.
There was not a lot of influence in my young life about astrology. So I only knew about sun signs, and I had studied that and kept up with that. But a little over 2 years ago, I had a really bad breakup with a guy. And at that time, I was trying to save money, had cut cable off, worst way in the world to save money. And so I was on YouTube one day, and I was just bored, and I typed in Cancer Astrology, January 2017, and this lady pops up. And it was tarot cards. And I had never heard of tarot cards. And, you know, she sat there and was talking about my sun sign and, you know, pretty much described the breakup that had just happened. And, you know, I was definitely intrigued. I'd never seen anything like that before. And, you know, went and watched other tarot readers, and they kept talking about natal charts. And, you know, if your Venus is in this sign or if your Mercury is in this sign. And I'm like, you know, what are they talking about? So about the summer of 2017, I had pulled my natal chart, but it still didn't quite, you know, because it doesn't make sense.
Oh yeah, it's like a crazy map like you've never even looked at before.
Right. So I'm running late. My computer's in the car. I have no example to show y'all. But, you know, it was about 6 months later I really started studying it. And the more I studied it, the more, I guess amused would be more the word. There were just parts in there. For instance, Mercury, the planet of communication and how you think, is conjunct or within a few degrees of Saturn in my chart. And so Saturn is the planet of restriction. And as y'all can probably hear, I have a slight lisp. And, you know, I mean, this is something that's haunted me my whole life. I know it's not the end of the world, but, you know, it's something I've been insecure about. And I've only ever, I haven't met her, but I spoke to one woman on the phone once who was born on the exact same day as me, and she too had a lisp. And that was, you know, at the time, that was just an unusual coincidence, but, you know, the planets don't move that fast. And so Mercury and Saturn were close at that moment. And then I had a girlfriend I grew up with in church, and she was born 6 days before me, and she too had a lisp. And, you know, it's just interesting to see stuff like that. It definitely plays out. I was watching this one astrology video, and the teacher was talking about how if your Mercury is in Pisces, that can come out as dyslexia. I sat there and I thought, and I ran and pulled up my brother's birth chart. He's very dyslexic, and his Mercury is in Pisces. And hey, Jay. Possibly. I actually used to work at another radio station and had to make my own radio spots every now and then. And I don't notice my lisp until I've got headphones on. I'm in that sound room. It's bouncing off the walls, and then that's like all I can hear. That's right, and you slow it down. Well, me, I tend to speak a little bit slower, and so that's what I always had to hurry it up. I'd try to put this much into this much time, but
the planets were spinning faster.
That's
but
funny.
To me, you know, this is what I'm finding at this time in my life. You know, it is a it is a tool, but there's lots, you know, there's lots of tools, but it's about finding those tools that resonate with you. And one of the things that this had said too that I really liked, and it just said, you know, and it's like you said, you know, where we are, it's you know, we've got people that have had, you know, they have their beliefs, and I completely honor those beliefs. But everyone has beliefs, so there, you know, that's the thing that's crazy about it. But it says we are we then all mini computers searching to be reconnected with the big one? I mean, that's
to me, astrology points me towards God.
Yeah.
I mean, there's order in the universe. There, you know, those planets, and we're influenced by it. There's definitely a design. You know, you're definitely being led. And something that occurred to me once, you know, I did grow up in church. I grew up in a Christian school. You know, I read through the Bible when I was in my 20s, just not really for the right reasons, but just to prove some people wrong about some stuff. And it turned out I was wrong. But, you know, when Jesus was born, the wise men were there, and they were there because they had been following the stars.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it doesn't necessarily say the word astrologer in that moment, but there, in ancient times, there were a lot of people that watched the stars and made decisions based on that. And I recently just got through reading a book called With Love from Diana, and it was written by Princess Diana's personal astrologer. And the author, Penny Thornton, was saying that the House of Windsor took hold, I think she said sometime in the 1300s. And since that time, only 2 members of royalty since the 1300s have not had personal astrologers.
Wow.
And, J.P. Morgan of Morgan & Chase has also been quoted as saying, millionaires don't have astrologers, billionaires do. And so it's a timeless wisdom that's there for us if we know how to access it.
Nice. Well, so we're just right here running out of time, but you can find either of us on Facebook and reach out to me at path-changers.com. And if you want to,
Let's do it. It's running late.
well, okay, all right. Okay, cool.
That works.
Well, lucky you guys. Okay, so we were going to talk about.
Just talking about Princess Diana, but there's, and I'm, like I said, I was running late, so I left my computer in the car. I had some notes, but there have been a lot of prominent people in history who, have relied on astrologists, studied astrologists. Carl Jung, for once, would bring astrology into his psychology practice and talk to people about that.
And the pyramids. I mean, how can you deny?
Yeah, I mean, astrology has
up.
been there, from the start. And when you look at the ancient people and the ancient traditions, over in China, they have astrology, and their representations, the animals and the symbols for astrology are the same as it was in the Middle East, is the same as it was over in Europe. And if you look at what the stars actually look like, for instance, my sun sign's in Cancer, and if you look at the stars up in the sky representing the constellation Cancer, they look like a Y. They don't look like a crab. Yet, all throughout parts of the ancient world, the symbol of the crab is used for that constellation. So there's some consistency there.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's come from somewhere. And, if you watch what's going on, I used to have a part-time job managing a salon, and I had 50 hairstylists under me, and we did weekly drafts from their paychecks. And this was several years ago, but I kind of started studying astrology a little bit more closely, and whenever there was an eclipse, the stylist with that sun sign, their payments would bounce. Even if they would be perfect payments the whole 4.5 years I was there, but then when an eclipse took place, I mean, I knew those were going to bounce. And, sometimes other people's payments bounced at that time too. And I don't have access to everybody's natal charts, but, when they signed up, I, got their birthdays. And I was able to see. It was, everybody remembers that big eclipse. I think it was August 2017, and that was in the sign of Leo. Mm-hmm. And my boss at the salon, I've recently gone back and pulled his chart, but his moon was in Leo. And he actually found out a little bit, let me think about this. Yeah, he found out that he had cancer, and so his time at the salon was coming to an end, and it was, it was neat having a job where you could see that, and you could see the patterns play out. And, I'm not saying, your sun sign is part of it. That's your ego. That's yourself. But your sun, your rising sign, and your moon have the most dominance on your personality. And it definitely is. It's an interesting tool. And I know it helps me understand the world. Mm-hmm. It helps me.
Well, the other thing that I had read that I really liked, because it's just about learning and growing. And it says, knowing and learning about your energy patterns in your birth chart can be your greatest asset. It is like you have been given a new tool or a map that gives you better direction that somehow connects with your inner being. That said, it is like any information or knowledge. You need to work with it and apply it. Awareness of something does not automatically change it. You need to understand how a certain energy or aspect has worked in your life, then begin to work consciously with it so that it can be used by you more productively. And that's true of everything. But have you found that to be true since you have discovered this for yourself?
Definitely. So there are 2 nodes on the moon. And they're not planetary bodies. They're just points in the sky, but it's the north node and the south node. So in Indian astrology, called Vedic astrology, they refer to it as Rahu and Ketu. In Western astrology, we call it the north node and the south node. And the south node in your chart is what you're supposed to be getting away from. It's what you're naturally good at, but what you need to get away from, and what this life is kind of ushering you away from. And my south node is in the 9th house, and that's higher education. That also talks about foreign countries, kind of showing yourself to the world, which, marketing and advertising falls underneath that.
Mm-hmm.
And so my south node, which is what I'm supposed to be getting away from, is in the area of marketing and advertising.
That's what you were doing,
and,
yeah. That's how we met.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've got a small advertising company. Nothing has gone right since I started it in 2009. And it was interesting to see that. The South Node can sometimes bring enemies in that area of your life. And I've got an ex-husband whose girlfriend at the time would call my clients and ask them to personally not do business with me. And, there's a laundry list of things that have gone wrong with that. But, it's a great company. It's a great concept. And in anybody else's hands, it would probably benefit and do rather well. Maybe not anybody else's hands, but astrologically speaking, someone's gifted for that, and someone's calling for, is
So
there.
what is your natal chart? What does it tell you that you are gifted for?
Astrology. And if I hadn't, if I had not come across natal charts, if I had not studied it, if I had not seen it, it's not anything that I would have naturally done.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, we're in Alabama, and there's not a lot of people that talk about astrology out here, much less to the depths of natal charts and planning your life and thinking about it before making decisions. My Uranus, which is it's the planet that's known to rule astrology, so it's within a couple of feet of the star Acrux, and Acrux is known as the astrologer's star. And then Uranus is the only planet in my chart that doesn't have any negative aspects to it, doesn't have any struggles. And then, I know it, girl. That's the best name of a planet ever.
Well, I've just realized I've been pronouncing it wrong my whole life.
Before I got into astrology,
I thought it was 2 words.
Well, this I'm sure is supposed to be more a G-rated show. So, yeah, I've got lots of jokes about that planet. But I'm trying to keep it G-rated. So, anyways, but I liked something on Facebook the other day and took a screenshot. Remind me to show you. I probably don't need to mention it. But no, there is a place called Uranus, Missouri, and so that's I've got to visit there at some point.
That's so great. That's funny.
Anyway,
awesome.
so
Well, I'm really happy for you. I mean, because really, I mean, I've seen the transition in your life. You know, we started hanging out. It's been a while. You know,
yeah.
Both of us going through life, our own struggles. You know, constantly working on self growth in one way, shape, or form. And I gotta say, I mean, you definitely seem like you've got a, I guess, kind of like a stronger sense of direction, and just and confidence, and something that you're really passionate about too. And I just think that's awesome. You got a lot of passions, but and I've seen you with, you have a lot of passions, but
I do.
but this has really risen to the top for you, and I'm happy for you. I think it's really good.
Well, I
So-
appreciate that. Yeah, and I've read quite a few different people's natal charts since the last time we talked. I have had to have a price increase. It's still significantly less than a lot of people out there who have been doing it for 10 or 15 years. But I'm charging $50 a chart now. When I started out, it was $20. But the people who I've read their chart, they've thanked me profusely, and got my first review on Facebook. I'm hearing the music.
Nice. Yeah, it means it's time for us to go. Our 10 extra minutes is up.
Woo! Thank you for that.
He's kicking us out.
Yeah.
I was gonna say that playing it again, but I didn't. All right. Thank you so much. Hey,
Thank you.
And stick around, because you're getting ready to hear Coleman live on 95.5, who so graciously let us go over tonight, and we really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget, you are important. Your health is important, and choose wisely. Thank you so much. Talk to you next week.
Thank y'all.